Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for this new edition of Business Africa. On our show today, we focus on sand extraction in Cameroon and the banking sector in the east of the continent. But first, let's get on with the show with our top stories today. The sand diggers of Cameroon are hard at work trying to earn a living, a tedious activity encouraged by the urbanization boom. This is our livelihood in our neighborhood. When we sell the sand, we can buy food to feed our children and ourselves. Stop to bankruptcies. A bank in Mogadishu has set itself the task of assisting Somali entrepreneurs hit by the economic impact of COVID.
IBS gave me $500 to jumpstart my business, and I pay back every month without interest.
In Benin, young people are starting to study Mandarin to facilitate their integration in the active world.
The reason that motivated me to choose the Chinese language is that I noticed there are many job opportunities with China.
In the west of Cameroon, the Noon district is crossed by a river whose many tributaries and sub-tributaries provide the inhabitants with a particularly lucrative activity, sand digging. The sand is used to supply the needs of the rapidly developing construction industry. The work done on this small river, the Denkene, feeds an entire industry of men, women and children. Our correspondent in Cameroon, Abuweka Sidik Munchili, visited the village of Madenkene. Take a look.
Madenkene, in the Noun department, a small village in West Cameroon, has built its reputation on the artisanal extraction and sale of sand. Sand mining is by far the main source of income here, ahead of agriculture, trade and small-scale livestock farming for these poor populations seeking for survival.
Everything you see here help our parents to raise us. The parents explore the sand, sell it, and pay for all our schooling fees, our clothes, and food from this activity.
This has been going on for a long time, and it seems to be a tradition that is passed on from generation to generation. The sand mining business has been a godsend to the local community to make ends meet, and many are women. Entering the water every day, 1 or 2 baskets and a hoe in hand, going to the bottom to extract sand. With all the risk one can imagine, it has simply become a routine for them.
We've been working the sand here for a long time. When we're on site, we finish around 2 o'clock. We clock in at 10 a.m. and we leave at 2 p.m.
A heap of these rock seeds, which can fill a van weighing less than 12 tons, is bought by truckers or resellers for 24,000 CFA francs, roughly over 36 euros.
We extract the sand out in a week. We call the trucks, which come to collect the sand, and we get 24,000 francs.
Some may say that it is a ridiculous amount of money with regard to the suffering endured by many during high inflation period in Cameroon, but enough to put a smile on the face of these women who sometimes bear the entire burden of the family.
This is our livelihood in our neighborhood. When we sell the sand, we can buy food to feed our children and ourselves. We also use this money in case of good or tough events. In the dry season, we work downstream, and in the rainy season, upstream. We fight so that the children do not have to stay at home and can go to school. Our priority is the children's schooling fees, even before food.
Some of these women, as well as other men and children, are self-employed. Others are regrouped in associations or economic interest groups to share the profits after sales. The sector is promising for the development of this village and the region in general. This has led to the local authorities to get involved in supporting these sand miners.
Ça fait au moins 2 ans ou 3 ans, la commune de Fumbane
It's been at least 2 or 3 years since the commune of Fumban developed a development plan. It came with a PNDP, National Program for Participatory Development, and they set up groups. So I am the mining and energy delegate here in Madankene in this communal plan. So we are organized into Puakone associations and EIGs, economic interest groups. For sand exploitation, the women mine. They're selling groups, but also individually.
Despite this organization, the difficulties faced by the sand miners in this village are enormous.
It takes time, it is tiring too, but it makes you eat, so you have to work. If we could perhaps find a machine that could help to extract the sand, and then when the trucks arrive, we share the profits with the population, that could help everyone.
The sand extracted here is sent to the large depot in the cities or delivered directly to the customers who need it for the various construction projects. Rapid urbanization in Cameroon has created a high demand for this precious resource. In big cities like Yaoundé and Douala, sand is bought at a high price, close to 200,000 CFA francs, that is 305 euros for a 20-ton truck, sometimes more, depending on the season, but nothing to do with what happens in the hinterland. This has created an enormous pressure on the country's waterways and beaches, which are suitable for this activity due to a large number of operators, hence leading to the development of the juicy industry profiting to a myriad of actors.
The sand sector, as you know, is informal. So the economic operators operate at several levels, starting from those who put their money to buy the trucks, and then the driver who drives this truck. And then the truck is driven to the motorways. There we have the divers. And there are also economic operators at this level, those who own the sand deposit there. They employ divers to go in the water in return of an amount of money for every filled pirogue that comes out from the water. They pay them also, and when the sand is taken out to the shore, they pile it up. They sell it to the trucks, who in turn load it in the bigger trucks to head to Yaoundé.
The list goes on and on. After air and water, sand is the most consumed natural resource on Earth. According to the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, its global demand is around 50 billion tons. Apart from civil engineering with construction works, sand in Cameroon is also one of the raw materials of several industrial sectors involved in manufacturing several objects. These companies are currently on the rise with the post-COVID economic revival in the country.
The East African Community bloc of economies will have weathered the storms of 2022 in the end, with growth of 4.8%, up from 3.5% recorded in 2021. The region, which comprises 7 member states, has done well. Industry, services, construction and mining have contributed to most of the growth. To continue on this trajectory and combat inflation, the East African Community intends to increase its expenditure by 11% to $103.84 million in the 2023-2024 budget. And still in the region, Rwanda is particularly well suited to the ambitions of Kenyan banks. According to a report by the Central Bank of Kenya, Rwanda contributed the largest share, 31.26%, of the profits of the regional subsidiaries of Kenyan banks. Several of these financial institutions have established themselves in the countries of the East African Community, not hesitating to also set up in Malawi, Mozambique and Mauritius. The latest agreement, the Kenyan banking group Equity, will soon acquire 91.9% of the Rwandan bank Cogebanque. But can banks support struggling entrepreneurs, or do they only lend to those who already have money? Well, we went to Somalia, where small businesses are still struggling to withstand the financial impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, and where an Islamic finance institution founded by Somali businessmen based in Dubai has chosen to support them. Our correspondent in Mogadishu, Abdirahman Hussain, has the story. Take a look. Somalia, like many other countries in Africa, has been adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Businesses have taken a hit as incomes dwindle, forcing many to cut down operations while others shut down. Meet Adan Guha Afra, a businessman in Mogadishu's Hamarweyne. His story, just like that of many other traders in the market, is one of loss and despair.
My business has seriously suffered since the COVID-19 pandemic broke out. We open at the shop at 7 in the morning and close at 6 in the evening without making even one sale. I cannot pay the rent and other utilities in my shop. Many businesses have collapsed and forced to close.
But an initiative by a local bank in Somalia is coming to the rescue of businesses through soft loans. Traders like Adan can apply for an interest-free loan from IBS Bank to jumpstart their business and cushion them from COVID-19 and related shocks.
IBS lends me $1,000 and invests in my small business without charging interest. We pay back at an agreed monthly rate of $100.
Mohammed Noor, who runs a small clothes shop in the same market, was about to close his business as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic when the IBS credit facility came to being.
My business almost failed because of COVID-19. We hardly had clients because few people used to come to the market or hardly brought anything. The price of clothes from the wholesalers also kept going up. IBS gave me $500 to jumpstart my business, and I pay back every month without interest.
According to a recent report by the Somali government and the UNDP, Somalia has since lost $86 million as a result of COVID-19 and related shocks. The socio-economic impact assessment also estimates the Horn of Africa nation lost a growth opportunity of $300 million. To tackle this downfall and help small businesses to recover, IBS has structured its loan facility as a microfinance tool.
The bank provides microfinancing to small business so as to take part in the development of the country. The amount we give to small businesses is between $500 and $1,000 at zero interest. We give $5,000 to $100,000 to middle-income businesses as an investment in the company. In Somalia, there are many challenges in the investment sector. Small business people could not meet the demands of the banks and don't have the proper documentation for their business. The other challenge is that some people have limited knowledge of bank investments, as the country has just emerged from decades of anarchy and war.
This state of affairs is also what led several Dubai-based Somali businessmen to come up with an Islamic banking solution for Somalia.
Well, the bank was established in 2014, and it's a group of Somali business people who came together with the idea of launching the bank. And the idea was to provide a platform for access to finance and access to banking, which, as you know, following the civil war, we had a total collapse of the financial sector. The aim of the shareholders or the pioneers of this bank was to ensure that the country gets a robust, accessible, and convenient banking services. So that's what led to the birth of IBS Bank.
But what are the challenges of lending money to people who hardly have any documents to prove their creditworthiness or even security in case of default?
Somalia is no exception. We face challenges just like any other country that is coming out of a conflict. So any challenges faced by a country with a post-conflict is what we are facing. The other challenge again is how do we create financial literacy in this market, and how do we promote financial inclusion? A larger part of the population is unbanked at the moment. Estimates vary. World Bank sometimes says that it's less than 5% who are of the population which is using the formal banking system.
Initiatives such as those of IBS and other actors are key to cushioning Somalia from the painful impact of COVID-19. With less than 1% of the population vaccinated against COVID-19 and the country struggling to emerge from many years of instability, support to families and populations is critical. Welcome to the second part of our show. Where is Nigerian President Bola Tinubu off to? A minimum of 100-day honeymoon for a new president is the norm all over the world, but following his election as head of Africa's leading economy, the country's new leader wastes no time. Less than a month after taking office, he has already embarked on several crucial reforms that investors and multilateral institutions have been calling for years. Firstly, an end to fuel subsidies, which cost the government $10 billion a year, followed by the devaluation of the national currency, the naira, and the dismissal of the controversial governor of the central bank. Finally, the announcement of a reform in the energy sector. The result has already been a rally in Nigerian stocks, but the effects of these measures are likely to be painful for the population. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, for his part, is worried about constant price inflation following the devaluations of the Egyptian pound. The tourist-heavy country was hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic and then, as a major wheat importer, by the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. According to President el-Sisi, another devaluation could jeopardize the economy and be detrimental to the 105 million Egyptians. The Egyptian pound has already seen 3 devaluations since the start of the year, and experts anticipate a further depreciation in the coming months. Meanwhile, Morocco is pursuing its industrial strategy geared towards sustainable development. With a focus on electric mobility, the kingdom has just signed a memorandum of understanding with the Chinese company Goshen High-Tech. The aim is to launch the construction of a factory to manufacture batteries for electric vehicle in Rabat. An investment of 5.9 billion euros will be needed to set up a production capacity of 100 gigawatts per year. Increasing trade between Africa and China also means more communication. Trade between the continent and the major Asian economy continues to grow. Trade activities jumped by 11% last year to $282 billion. China is now Africa's leading trading partner, and to facilitate this growing relationship, young people are now turning to learning the Chinese language. Our journalist Didier Sogba went into the classroom of these Beninese students who are determined to master the language. Take a look.
With an estimated trade volume of over $60 billion annually, China is Benin's third largest trading partner. In this context, speaking Mandarin is a great asset. Created in 2019 and set up on the campus of Abomi Kalavi, the Confucius Institute offers a degree in translation and interpretation in the Chinese language. The students of the school are the most sought after on the job market in Africa.
Apart from my studies, I'm also a translator-interpreter for Chinese. The reason that motivated me to choose the Chinese language is that I noticed there are many job opportunities with China. If you are an intern and haven't finished your studies, you can earn up to 150,000 CFA francs a month. If you have a degree in the Chinese language, your salary can rise from 250,000 to 500,000 CFA francs.
While the guaranteed minimum wage in Benin is 52,000 CFA francs, this is a great opportunity for students like Parfait. Other reasons why this training course is so successful among young people in the economic capital are quite diverse. My mother has a big wholesale business. She's a trader. And by learning the Chinese language, I can help my mom to develop this business. According to a report published in Beijing in 2021 by the China-Africa Business Council, Chinese private companies account for about 70% of investments in Africa. China carries out more than a third of the infrastructure projects on the continent. So, to facilitate exchanges between Chinese workers and employers, interpreters are much needed.
When we teach our students the Chinese language, they also learn the culture, the behavior, attitude, and all of that. It allows us to create an honest relationship with the Chinese. We have students trained at the Institute who are not in Benin, but who work with the Chinese in countries like Angola, Côte d'Ivoire, and Togo. So the job market today for someone learning Chinese is promising.
In 2016, the Chinese spent $110 billion on international tourism. According to the World Tourism Organization, UNWTO, the number of Chinese tourists visiting the African continent is growing at a rate of around 50% each year. But the most visited countries are Morocco and Tunisia. Benin would also like to attract Chinese tourists through the students of the Confucius Institute.
Our students also serve as tour guides for Chinese tourists.
For
example, a Chinese community wanted to visit the royal treasures at the Presidency Palace. It was our students who accompanied them.
Au palais de la présidence. Ce sont nos étudiants qui les ont accompagnés. Donc c'est pour dire en fait que dans le domaine du tourisme,
in the field of tourism, there are great opportunities for these students.
Pour ces étudiants.
Cuisina is one of the leading companies of furniture and home furnishing in the West African sub-region. An expertise learned in China and an acute knowledge of Chinese, the young kitchen designer Muamin Adechokan, the CEO of Cuisina, has indeed found an innovative solution. He manufactures kitchen furniture with fully waterproof panels that meet the standards of African kitchens. To do this, he imports all the materials from China without intermediaries. His customers are large West African construction companies, and these kitchens are a great success compared to kitchen furniture imported from Europe that are less suited to the conditions on the continent.
La Chine m'a appris la langue.
China taught me the language, which is the key to success and of what I am today. Chinese people are special. It doesn't matter if the Chinese understand English or French well, you automatically create a barrier if you don't speak their language. I returned to Africa and set up my industry, Cuisina.
After traveling through several African countries, this Chinese representative is the head of the subsidiary of Jiangxi Water and Hydropower Construction, settled in Benin in 2017. This company specializes in building and construction, public works, and hydroelectricity. Liu Zhaoping is proud of his collaboration with the Beninese workers.
It is very important. These workers who have studied the Chinese language allow us to better trade between Beninese and Chinese communities.
Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, Sino-African cooperation has maintained its momentum. With the development of trade, the prospects of this cooperation still have a bright future ahead, and making Africa a very attractive playing field in the eyes of Beijing.
And that's it for today. Business Africa is over. I'll be back next week, same time, same channel for Initiative Africa. I'll be hosting Kenyan banker Esther Kariuki, African Banker of the Year. In the meantime, you can watch this show on our website, africaonair.com, and follow us on all our social media channels. Feel free to share, like, and comment using the hashtag Business Africa. Have a great week, and until next time, goodbye.